Mangroves are intertidal, salt-tolerant trees that abound in sheltered coastlines in the tropics and subtropics. In the Philippines, mangroves number around 30 species, belonging to more than a dozen genera that include Rhizophora, Avicennia, Soneratia, and Xylocarpus. Mangrove forests were an extensive feature of our coastline from pre-Hispanic times up to the early 1900s. The country's premier city of Manila owes its name to Siphiphora hydrophyllacea, a mangrove tree with small white flowers. When the Spaniards arrived in 1570, the swampy area along Manila Bay was called Maynilad by the natives, meaning there is nilad, referring to the abundance of this species along the bay. Covering from 1/2 to 1 million hectares at the turn of the century, mangroves declined to only 138,000 hectares in 1988. At least 50% of the mangrove loss can be traced to fish pond development. Brackish water ponds, first recorded in the Philippines in 1860, increased to 223,000 hectares by 1990. Mangrove swamps have also been converted to agricultural farms, salt beds, and residential lots. The mistaken notion that wetlands are wastelands provided the impetus for the conversion of mangroves to other uses. This happened with the active support of the Philippine government. In the 1950s, the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development granted $26 million for pond construction and operations. This pattern has continued with another loan of $22 million from the Asian Development Bank for shrimp and milkfish ponds and hatcheries as late as 1984. Indeed, foreign economic assistance has facilitated the loss of mangrove swamps and forests in the Philippines and elsewhere. Mangroves have contributed significantly to the well-being of coastal communities for centuries. Mangrove products are used for fuel, construction, household items, paper, drugs, beverages, and food. The nipa palm, scientifically known as Nipa fruticans, is another species found in mangrove swamps and is a very versatile plant. The young leaves are used to wrap food, the midribs bundled into brooms, and the immature kernels eaten fresh or cooked. The processing of mature nipa leaves into roof and wall materials for rural houses and the production of alcohol and vinegar from nipa sap are important cottage industries in the Philippine countryside. In addition to such varied forestry products, mangroves protect the coasts from typhoons and storm surges, prevent shoreline and riverbank erosion, and absorb pollutants from land and sea. Mangrove swamps are important for fisheries. Various studies have shown a positive correlation between catches of fish or shrimp and the area of mangroves or the intertidal zone in the Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, Australia, and the United States. This is because mangrove swamps act as a nursery ground for a variety of fishes, crustaceans, and mollusks, and also export larvae, detritus, and nutrients to coastal waters. Preliminary efforts at valuation of mangroves indicate values ranging from $500 to $1,500 per hectare per year for unmanaged mangrove systems, and up to $11,000 per hectare per year for the managed matang mangroves in Malaysia, which yield firewood, charcoal, and other forest products. Therefore, mangrove ecosystems are economically at par with profitable aquaculture ventures like intensive shrimp farming that gives net profits of $11,600 per hectare per year. Economic rent refers to the profits gained from the use of a resource. For mangroves converted to aquaculture, this rent ranges from 515 pesos per hectare per year for milkfish ponds to 3,269 pesos per hectare per year for shrimp ponds. This means that pond owners can afford to pay much higher than the current pond lease of 50 pesos per hectare per year. Therefore, pond lease fees should be increased so that a greater portion of the profits from the use of mangrove areas will go to the government to fund mangrove reforestation and other rehabilitation efforts. To save the few remaining mangrove forests, particularly those in Palawan, Bohol, and Zamboanga, existing legislation must be enforced. Presidential Decree 705 or the Revised Forestry Code and Presidential Proclamations 2152 and 2153 were promulgated precisely to protect mangrove forests. Given the magnitude of mangrove forest loss, the major course of action should be immediate and massive rehabilitation. Among the success stories in mangrove reforestation are the 1984 Central Visayas Regional Project in 5 nearshore fishery sites funded by the World Bank and the 50-hectare Carlibo Aklan project supported by the Japanese government. The Department of Environment and Natural Resources provides planting materials, technical assistance, and a 25-year lease agreement. The agreement or stewardship contract allows the selective harvest of wood, shells, fish, and crustaceans for livelihood, but requires the awardee to maintain permanent forest cover. Some fishing and culture technologies in mangrove areas are small-scale, family-level operations, and mindful of ecological concerns. These technologies include seaweed culture, crab fattening, steak and raft culture of oyster and mussel, and cage culture of fish. A technology known as amatong utilizes intertidal excavations with piled-up rocks and clustered branches that serve as niches for siganids, groupers or lapu-lapu in the Philippines, and other fishes which are then harvested regularly for home consumption or for sale in local markets. Moreover, mangroves and aquaculture ponds can be compatible. In the early Indonesian tambak, various mangrove species were planted along dikes and on seaward tidal flats for protection against waves, for firewood, and for green manure to stimulate growth of natural food. A modern updating of this scheme is the experimental Tambak Tumpang Sari or aqua silviculture, which combines aquaculture with forestry as shown in this prototype being tested in Quezon and Oriental Mindoro by the Ecosystems Research and Development Bureau of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. Integrated mangrove shrimp culture ponds are operated commercially in Vietnam and are known as Gay Y in Hong Kong. To restore the integrity of our marine environment and ensure the survival and prosperity of fisherfolks and other coastal dwellers, we must protect remaining mangroves, reforest denuded areas, allow abandoned ponds to regenerate, and promote sustainable aquaculture.